So there's this presupposing, and again, to me, I don't know what it was in his own dialect, but the emphasis on the word pre in the presupposing, I think, is important. And he would categorize this statement as one of the problem or the greatest mystery. So his teachings put a lot of emphasis on this idea that there's this presupposing of a non-existent thing, really of being existing, really. And then that non-existent thing appearing to be existing, wanting to get salvation for the non-existent thing. And it makes total sense. If the non-existent thing is taken to be existing, it's going to probably have a lot of situations that are going to be lacking of what it wants: satisfaction and contentment, longevity, lastability, reliability, and therefore it would probably set out on a course of seeking that, or salvation from all the seeking of that, premised on the idea that it's this existing thing. This is the dilemma, in a sense, It's not that we haven't found the right formula or we're defective in our practices. You'll arrive there if you're taking yourself to be a non-existent thing. All the failings of the system are gonna be probably personally taken. You're gonna feel like you missed it, not spending enough time doing, and all like that. Most of us have been through those phases. So this idea, so the presupposing is important because pre is before, and only in time is there before and after. There's no before in all there is. It's just So before implies after, which implies time. Obviously. So there's this presupposing in time that you're an existent thing, and then you want to get salvation for the existent thing, or enlightenment or awakening, or a good mate or a job, whatever it may be. But they're basically all premised on the starting point of the non-existent thing. And then he says, all right, if this is the case, your spiritual practices, and all practices in a way, it doesn't have to be spiritual, your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing. How can they destroy it? It's a nice little statement to put on, so to speak, slip it on. If it fits, wear it, So, and for me, it fit when I heard this. And then it was echoed a number of times. And then it put out an illusory fire that constantly was stoking seeking in me, in a sense. Not as me, really. It just put it out because you saw the absurdity of starting from what you're not, hopefully to arrive at what you are. It just doesn't it makes absolutely no sense. Hey, come on in. It makes absolutely no sense if you see it from the questioning of the non-existent thing. And then in a way, the weird thing is, most of the questioning of the so all right, there's one level. So let's say you hear that, but you hear it as the non-existent thing. So now the non-existent thing tries to come to terms that it's non-existing. Come on, over here. So you can see what kind of pretzel logic that would form. You would be trying to, as the non-existent thing appearing to be existing, trying to proclaim to itself it doesn't exist. It's sort of like, it just doesn't work, in my view. So, and we'll go in on these because the point is not just the message, it's how the system that's failed's reaction to the message is even more important. Because you'll see that it has certain ways of defending itself from the information, and they're not millions of them, they're few, and they can be seen. You can see them instead of looking from them. Yeah, there's another chair, bro. Here. This is always for the imaginary guests. Haven't showed up yet. I've asked Paul to show up. He's never showed up all these years. There's a seat here, honey. Come on in. Yes.
It's okay.
Someone's crawling. And here's another person. All right, Charlie. Let's get another chair. You can get in there? All right, yeah, because we can always break the door. Yeah. All right, so. All right, well, I think we'll start again, just so to get this point across. I've lost the point. And that's the good thing. A loss of interest in the whole topic is really a good sign to me, to tell you the truth. Yeah, because then, because there is things called mind candy, you know? There's certain ideas that are very intriguing to a sort of transcendent, magical little aspect of the head. And, you know, it likes to go there. Oh, yes, there's 11 dimensions of reality, and I'm appearing in 11 different dream states, and what happens to me as the dreamt is affecting, maybe it's a win in another level, so let's get over the fact I feel totally fucked. Oh, but in another level, Paul is uplifted, but, you know, but it doesn't hold much water. It's just imaginary going off. So they call it mind candy in some Buddhism. I feel like that happens a lot. All right, so we're going back to this. What I'm trying to get to today is the obscuring agent of our own interest. Yeah. So when we become interested in something, that something has been given a lot of meaning. Now, you can't stop that. As they say, you know, the observation distorts the observed. That's our role here. So when we look at an idea or a topic or a thing or a possibility, we can, we distort it, yeah? So this is what happens. Come on, bro. Get break in there. I didn't know the meeting starts at 11:30. We started early. We started early today. So
Kids.
yeah.
The usual excuse.
Throw another one in there. Yeah, here.
Alright, thank you.
See, this is actually where most of us start from. See, we missed the little warning on the cereal thing. There's a presupposing a non-existent thing. Then we walk in, and it sounds like, yeah, let's get on with it. I've been missing something, and then we set off once again from the, you know, SS Paul on our little journey. Sit down.
Wait, Jean-Claude can't come in, or Jean-Claude can't come in?
So we're going to go back once again. So, because we can in time, you see. You can unwind what was wound and stuff, so you see it. So this idea there's this presupposing of an imaginary thing to be existing, yeah, and then wanting to get salvation for that existing non-existent thing. Now, the presupposing to me is the whole formula of selfing. So selfing, in my sense, is the three-pronged mental processing, which is when you're remembered as a body. When you're thought about as a body. And we perceive things, yeah. This doesn't perceive no thing, it sees things in no thing, yeah. So those three things, when our attention and interest is it's like cows that have that well-worn path to the trough. The cows are smarter because if there wasn't any food or water, they'd stop, but we keep going to the trough because of an addictive quality, yeah. So we keep going to the well, hoping there's going to be water, but there's never any water, yeah, because we are the water we're looking for in the well, so to speak. All right, so it says, all right, if this presupposing a non-existent thing is taken to be existent, then there's a logic, and then it starts feeling like malaise or the dukkha of suffering and all this and all that. Then it would say, all right, I want to get relief from all that, and you could call that salvation, yeah? So now it wants to get salvation. Sounds pretty good idea. I'm tired of feeling so funky and shit like that. Something gets good, but then it disappears, you know, bad seems to last longer, the good seems to get contracted faster. What's going on here? I want relief. And then we set off to get relief on that basis that we're that thing. Yeah. Now, and it's difficult because the thing can't really turn around and look at the thing. Yeah. The thing, the selfing will project itself as an ego, let's say, and objectify itself and say, hey, I want to lose that. But to me, it's the feeling of the one who has and loses an ego is the selfing. Really, it doesn't matter what comes and goes. You're like the axis, you know? So you have an ego, you're there. You lose an ego, you're there. I think maybe lose that, and then you'll lose interest in having and losing egos. That's how I feel about it. So, all right, so there's the presupposing of a non-existent thing, wanting to get salvation on a non-existent thing. What happens? Well, in this case, some practices may be called spiritual, so your spiritual practices themselves will be reinforcing the non-existent thing. How can they destroy it? Yeah? And first of all, you can't destroy a non-existent thing, obviously. And if you want salvation from a non-existent thing, it's always available at all times because it's non-existent. Your condition for salvation is based on a non-existent thing getting rid of. You don't need to get rid of it, it's non-existent. So basically, the salvation's readily available at all times, right where you are, with no requirement necessary. But there's a lot of requirements necessary if there's a taking to be the non-existent thing. The non-existent thing may have to go through tons of years of purification to get ready to receive what it is, because what it is surely ain't what you take yourself to be. So come on in, bro. What is that? Are we giving Tupperware out today?
Dude, we started 8:15.
This is a meetup. We're gonna get you a chair, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah. But I'm not starting again. Yeah, move it out here if you like, brother. Yeah. The VIP section.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
So why, in a sense, would the spiritual practices reinforce the non-existent thing? Yeah. Because we would be the one who's doing the spiritual practices, so the interest and attention that we represent would be directed from what we're not, and maybe that direction would be to try to find what it is. That's the biggest obscuring agent. Obviously, if you are what you're looking for it as something else would obscure that, yes? It would be the constant reinforcing of the impossible obscuration. Yeah, because the only thing that can fool what we are is what we are. There's nothing else that can do that. There's absolutely nothing. There's no illusion that can fool reality unless reality wants to be fooled. Yeah. So, I mean, so, all right. So there's this statement, hey, there's a presupposing. So obviously the non-existent thing is supposed to be existing. And so when it's arising now, it doesn't arise, yeah, because there's no thing. So the presupposes when there's the idea of being Paul, it was I was Paul, yeah, I will be Paul, therefore I am Paul. It doesn't arrive at I am Paul because it can't. The I am is in and of itself complete, yeah? There's no addition of Paul, or Paul isn't before the I am. It isn't Paul, therefore I am. And it isn't I am, therefore Paul, I'm Paul. Yeah, it's made up in time, right? So I was Paul, obviously. You go into your memories, not yours, the memories. You know, you're pictured as a body. You can't be pictured any other way 3 years ago. How are you going to say, oh, there I am as spirit in Maui? Where? You know, where would you, get it? You captured me in the frame. It would be just an empty fucking frame. Exactly. So the remember, he's pictured us as a body. So when there's a relying on that, what we're relying on is that all the information is pertaining to being a body. Yeah. And the thought system assumes and insinuates and implies that we're the doer, the thinker, the feeler, and all of those attributes are pinned on an image called the body. Yeah? So when you feel like you're the thinker, you don't feel like a thought, you feel like a body. Yes? Like the body is doing thinking. Feel, you can see it, it's not hard. You can sense, when there's a claiming of something, consciousness brings us to, when the mental states, I'm the one who's conscious, and I'm the one who saw that, there's a feeling of being a body. You can sense it. It's like it's attributed right to the body. It's a little tingle almost, yeah? So, this idea of being a body is the basis of the system that we're relying on. We're walking around listening to the mental state, its narration. See, there's a difference between hearing it and listening to it. Hearing it is that's what happens, yeah, because there's consciousness. So you're going to be conscious of this inner dialogue, yeah. Listening to it is more like a devotion. There's a certain interest that's added that produces a focus, yeah. And that focus is when there's looking, there's an implying of the looker. When they're seeing, they're hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, they're all used to imply the seer, the hearer, the feeler, the taster, the toucher. When there's thoughts, they imply the thinker, feelings, actions, all of this stuff, which is happening. Yeah? See, a lot of people want to stop thoughts. That's a fucking thought, really. Yeah? There's no way that which is going to transcend that which it's in. Yeah? The system isn't going to leave the system. It's made in a system. It appears in a system. It's reinforced by the system. There's no place. Its first wing flight would be a thud. It's not going anywhere. Yeah? It's and it's a self-fulfilling system. Yeah? So when there's a doing, it feels like you've been a doer for your whole freaking life, doesn't it? When there's an action that happens, there's a subtle claiming of the action, and then suddenly there's a feeling you've been a doer since you were 4 years old. And actually, periods where you have no memories of being Paul are claimed. Oh, I remember when I took a shit when I was 6 months old in my no, you don't. But it extends way past the point. Yeah. So it's used to claim not so much I'm the doer now. The doer now is arrived at as being a doer for a long fucking time, and you're gonna be a doer for a long time. You see it? It's like if there was consciousness and then the mental state was like throwing chum out on the sea of consciousness. So it's throwing out, you're the doer, and then consciousness would just arise, yeah, and a mental state would be like a barnacle on it. And then when the consciousness saw the bait, the mental state would say, I'm a fish, yeah? And not only that, I've been a fish, and you know what, I'm gonna be a fish, yeah? Just with the bait, just by, yeah, consciousness sees the bait, but the mental state piggybacks on and says, oh, I'm the fish, and I've taken this bait tons of fucking times. I'm a stupid fish. Why do I fucking keep taking on and on and on? And it just tons of streaming of minutia. And then future. It just streams into the future. Yeah? Just one little claiming triggers all the claiming that's ever happened and all the claiming that you believe is gonna happen. That's the impact. Just like when you're out there going crazy. You're not going crazy in that second. The head's telling you it's gonna last like this forever. And then people kill themselves. And people fucking do something that they know is the stupidest fucking thing to do, but they want immediate relief from that feeling. It's because it's not about that feeling, it's about the feeler. You want relief from the feeler as the feeler. That's why it doesn't fucking work. So now all the drive to get relief from the feeler reinforces the idea that you're the feeler. Every time I try to get out of self, reinforce the idea that I was in self. And most of us don't see it. Even though we get blizzards of consequences, we can't fucking get to the exact nature of the wrong because we're the obscuring agent. Yeah? Everything, as soon as we see, it's distorted. So this is what he's saying. Your spiritual practices, because they're yours, are going to reinforce the non-existent thing. How can they destroy the non-existent thing when their real intention is to reinforce the non-existent thing? Most people don't know that. They've got to hear it, or something has to happen to them to see it, yeah? But you've heard it. This is the spiritual subpoena. Mind knows what's happening. I mean, raw mind. It sees it, but its sense of seeing is undifferentiated. It's just there, yeah? But when it hears this, if it can get through all the defenses of you being the hero of it, if it hears this, it may entertain an idea. I'm not that. I'm not that historical fish that's being implied. I am not that who did all this shit. I am not that who's gonna do all this shit. Yes? It just may entertain a possibility that it's been handcuffed not to be able to entertain because it's been trying to entertain it as the problem. See? It's been trying to get out of self as a self. Suddenly it sees the possibility, I'm not that, and then the next possibility is I can be free from it. And then what happens? What happened with me, it informed me in a split second. I've been trying to be free as it my whole life, since I was 6 years old. I've been trying to get out of me as me, with the hopes that me would be there when it happened. It's fundamentally flawed. It had nothing to do with performance. It had nothing to do with repetition. It had nothing to do with thought or effort. It had nothing to do with more. It had nothing to do with high levels of understanding. It was fundamentally flawed from the get-go. Yeah? I was using what I'm not to arrive at where I am. All the while, I've never left where I am. And so you run into these cryptic statements in spirituality. They're just trying to warn us, really. I would say everything high, to me, real spirituality, a real message is based on a warning, basically. You're using yourself to find yourself. You're using the Buddha to seek the Buddha. If it fits, wear it. If it doesn't, don't try to jam your fucking foot in. It's just an invitation. If you want to fucking do a lot of shit, do a lot of shit. It's not you anyway. But maybe you've come to the point, Jesus Christ, I've milked that dead cow for fucking years. Whatever it may hit you, I don't know. To me, it was just like an unspoken yes. My spiritual pants fell down and that was it. And in a way, if you call this a spiritual meaning, I feel like I'm misrepresenting it. I have no interest in spirituality at all. 0.00000% I could care less about getting better. I've reached enough as an action figure. I'm not fucking, I'm maintaining a certain quality of life. And that's it. But if you're sitting down for 13 hours a day, you've got to believe you're thinking you're going somewhere. And you're not. You are not going anywhere. Maybe 20 minutes would work. 20 minutes of meditation. Maybe save you a plane trip to Thailand and 3 weeks of lousy fucking weak soup every morning. Yeah, maybe, just maybe. Maybe you could fucking donate that money to something else. I don't know. And just see what happens when you're seemingly okay, like right now. Does the fucking sky fall down? Does it really? You get taken out to the back shed and whipped by fucking... No, it's totally okay. Yeah? Because you're not that. Right? So now, the interest and attention, which was befuddling us, our own interest and attention was used to obscure us from something. That's amazing, eh? You got to see the Course's leap of understanding it tries to offer, the Course in Miracles. Because a lot of people say, oh yeah, I'm in a dream, I'm in someone else's dream, I'm in God's dream, whatever. But he says, no, you're the dreaming of the dreaming. You know what I mean? In other words, you're God, if you want to call it that. Yeah, what? Yes. You are the reality that's seeing false evidence, and the way it's seeing it, false evidence appears real. Yeah, what? Yeah. I can look at false evidence, and by my belief in it, it will appear real. What is that? I mean, that's a major role you're playing, yeah? If you are giving everything all the meaning it has, that's a pretty absolute statement. I don't see how you can avoid the responsibility. And it's not for the dreamt, it's for the dreaming, yeah? The dreamt, knowing that it's the dreaming, doesn't go anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not helping the dreamt to think it's the dreaming. It goes somewhere when the dreaming realizes it isn't the dreamt. That to me works. That is seamless. That works. Yeah. But so it's like this message isn't for us. It isn't. Yeah. All the messages we want to hear are based on improving, progress, time, thought, effort. This message has nothing to do with any of that. It doesn't. You're not going to get anything. Literally. I swear. I can guarantee you're not going to get anything. And to me, that's the greatest hallelujah. Because we've all been shopping for something for so fucking long, and it totaled up to nothing. So let's just start at nothing. Yeah? Yeah. So maybe you are what you're looking for. Maybe. Not just, but not as what's looking, not as who's looking. Yeah? So by questioning this, you find out what you are. By questioning what you are from this, it doesn't go anywhere. It really doesn't. But if you question what you're not from what you are, that goes somewhere. I've seen it. Yeah? I've seen all the machinations of mental logic has to do when it keeps running into the wall of itself and then backing up and trying to get a little more subtle. Boom, boom, boom. You're not going to be there to get it. So the message is definitely not coming. I am not giving you the message. If it was based on me, I wouldn't show up. This has lost complete interest in this whole thing. It just keeps going because that's its fucking seed assignment. But you know, seriously, the loss of interest is probably the highest fucking level you can be at. You know, those people used to think we're normal and ordinary. They got it going on. There's no fucking metaphysical angst they're in. They're way ahead of us in a lot of ways. Now, many of us have to go through a convoluted thing in time to arrive at being ordinary and not special and not too relevant. But hey, when you arrive there, fucking it's sweet, yeah? Because you've lost interest in what you're not. And therefore, there's a gaining of interest in everything else. You know, today, other people. Yeah, it's just beautiful. It's not a redirection like I'm pulling in all my attention and interest because it's not mine and then I'm going to send it out. No, it's just a recognition of some ideas. The interest attention gets reconfigured, and then as an observational event, which is we are in time, we're observing things, yeah? You'll see that in a sense you've learned how to, or you have acquired, or you're demonstrating an ability of traveling lighter that you could never have done or had yourself into. Yeah, and then you rest on that, and then that's that basically. And then this giant saga is all over. Yeah. You now look for what can be found. You see what you're not, and in seeing what you're not, there's a recognition of what you are, and it's not like this is a denial. It's not like I'm not that. It's just I'm not that. You know, it's very, very matter-of-factly. I'm not that. It's not I'm not. There's no fucking I'm not that. No, that's denial. That doesn't work. It's a negation. So suddenly, instead of looking for what you are from what you're not, you see what you're not, looking for what it is from what it's not. And in that, things get corrected. And you never get gypped, period. Morning, noon, night. You don't spend any time getting into the moment. You're completely based on a realization you can't be out of a moment. Yeah? You know the limitations of the action figure. And it's not a chariot of the gods. It's like a Toyota. It's totally utilitarian, really. And it's expressive. And some art can come through it. Yeah? But it's definitely not going to be the transcendental, whatever it is, vehicle. It's not going to take us out of here. It isn't. So, yeah. So if you can see all the little pitfalls that occur by first recognizing what you're not, I believe you can study what you're not. It's valuable. I believe if you have a working understanding of what you're not, that will allow traveling lighter. I do. I believe you can understand, study, and you're experiencing what you're not all day. I just don't believe you can experience what you are, you can study what you are, and you can know and understand what you are. I just don't think that's possible. Because you are it, yeah. I think the only possibility we have concerning ourselves is being it, and I humbly believe that's happening right now. It's just in the thought system, it doesn't think so. Yeah? So, by recognizing you're not the thinker of thoughts, the power of the thoughts weaken. Yeah? When you see you're not the feeler of the feelings, the power of feelings weaken. And then you realize where the power of feeling came from. Not from the feeling, but from the idea of the feeler. Yeah? You realize the power of thoughts are given to them by us through the thinker. Yeah? You start seeing the exact nature of the wrong and the causes and conditions. Yeah? From what? From here you would call it the solution. From here there's no need for a solution. But from here there's a need for a solution. So you're seeing the problem from the solution. And the solution tells you there is no problem. This is an activity the solution is involved with, really. So the activity of solution, giving meaning to things, is through the thinker. It gives meaning to thoughts, yeah? Through the feeler, it gives meaning to feelings. And definitely through the actor, it gives meaning to actions. And we start seeing that the verbs are being used to imply the noun. The noun isn't having the verbs, yeah? So an action is used to imply the actor, yeah? The thoughts are used to imply the thinker. So without thoughts, there is no thinker. Without actions, there is no actor, yeah? Without seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, there would be no seer, hearer, feeler, tasting, touching. So the activity of living, of what's happening here, is verbing, and the mental state claims the verbing and uses it to imply a noun. And it's so, you can see it in one fucking illustration. The whole idea that we share is the act of being identified as a self, as a complete verbal sentence, yeah? No noun of self, just the act of being identified as a self, yeah? The mental state is in that act of being identified as a self. Okay, so therefore, and then suddenly, so selfing produces the sense of self, or is used to produce the sense of self. When people hear this simple understanding, they get in touch with me, at least in the old days, and they say, Paul, I've been selfing all day. Or the selfing's driving me crazy. It's the perfect illustration of what I'm saying. The selfing implies the self, and then suddenly the self is claimed to be the one that's doing the verb. Yeah? And now you get guilty over selfing. Another fucking thing. Yeah? Or, it's unbelievable. Awakening is a possibility. It's verbing, yeah? Then the mental state claims it and says, I'm the one who's awake. So, in a subtle way, you as a noun think you're awakened, you're doing the awakening. And what happens in this beautiful fucking ironic joke of a place, suddenly there'll be a loss of the awakening. So now the awakened, without the awakening, wait a minute, she's now unawakened. How are you going to write a story about that? well, I did or didn't do something that caused me to lose you can't get out of it. Once you step in the shit, you carry it every other rationalization. Yeah? No one's awake. You're inherently awake. Yeah? No one's enlightened. Enlightenment may be coming through. Things are happening. This happened with a guy, a famous Tibetan Lama. A guy who sent me one. I don't know how true it is, but he was like commonly acknowledged as enlightened, yes? And now he has dementia. So he's dribbling around, and the people who thought it was him are quite perplexed. Fuck, how could he have been awake, enlightened, and now he's this? He was never fucking enlightened. You were pinning something on the action figure that the action figure has nothing to do with. Supposedly Ramana yelled out in pain because he had throat cancer. Some people, oh, check him off the list. He's not a master. He yelled, fucking, what are you talking about? The action figure has this experience. So, drive with some of these so-called masters. They get pissed off at traffic. Go to the bathroom after they're in the bathroom. They stink to high heavens. This is all, you're just attributing shit to something that has nothing to do with it, yeah? So this message isn't from me, nor to you. And I can't miss my target because I'm throwing it everywhere and I can't miss it. I know the length of your arms, your mental arms, I've learned. I know just to get over the fingertips of understanding. And then the mind does the rest. Mind will do the rest, just like it did with me. As soon as I saw I was not that, the possibility I can be free from it became available. Yeah? Yes? And then it informed me how I've been trying to be free as that which I'm not since I was 6 years old. Through all science fiction, Edgar Allan Poe, sports, drugs, spirituality, disappointment there, drugs again, on and on and on. All of them were basically me trying to get out of me. Good luck, yeah, yeah. And then there'll be gauges where how much is me out of me. Paul, you're almost there. You're almost out of me. Am I really? How does it look? Loving gaze, equanimity. You're almost close. Keep going, Paul. Keep going. It'll just be a me judging if the me is out of the me. Ma. It's like that which is playing God will continue to play God, even on the topic of God. Yes? You say it in AA, you got to quit playing God. All right? This is the one, this is a picture of the dilemma. So that which is playing God here, it's got to quit playing God. What does it do? It tries to quit playing God, which is playing God. And it will go on ad infinitum. How are you going to get out of that? Only by realizing you're not in it, that's all. So you see you're not that which is playing God. It keeps playing God, but God, in a sense, has lost interest in that which is playing God. And now the interest of God goes to other things and non-things, yes? Not through the middle person of that which is playing God, yes? And so the middle person plays a role. This starts observing things are changing. It's traveling lighter, and it can't write itself into the situation as the cause. It sees it's just an expression. And now the horse is in front of the cart. That which is the cause is right before the effect. Instead of an effect, it's taking itself to be a cause. Yeah. And it works. And that if you're here and you entertain it, it's supported by the website and YouTube's. I mean, we just flooded the market with about 12 talks in the last 10 days. There's tons of repetition, and see what happens. And if your mind, that little mental flag unfurls, yeah, and you're left with your own devices, you'll see maybe they're not your own devices. Yeah. And so you won't be beholden to them as much. Yes. Yeah. So, that's the idea. I heard it, entertained it. It told me what to say at these things. I was thinking I was going to have a giant spiritual career. It hasn't worked out that well. I thought I should try to do all I could do to try to keep up with what was moving through this. It told me to stop that shit. You don't have to get any better, Paul. You're fine just as you are, because you're not. And just lose interest in all that. And you can't lose interest by interest, yeah. You can't, that would be interest. You gotta find a way around this whole dilemma of you as the obscuring agent. How am I gonna get around you by seeing you're not? Yeah? You can't get around you as you. It's impossible. But by seeing you're not, that's the way to get around it. And there's no need to get around it, actually. When you see it's not, yeah. And the interested attention will probably end up enriching your Saturday instead of enslaving you to yesterday and tomorrow, really. Yeah. So, any questions? Yes?
This is me reaching for a highball, but my heart's not really in it. It's more like it's just an interest. So, what I've heard previously in the message, or what I've heard, I don't know what was said, and Wang Po and Rama all say that the inherent wakefulness is never bounded by, reduced, supplemented by anything it witnesses, anything in the space, anything. It is absolutely that. It's just that. So what's going on with it being attracted to the chum? Is it only seemingly attracted to the chum? Because it seems like if it's going for the chum, it is bounded by, influenced by, at the effect of what is seen. Is it just a seeming?
No, it's dreaming. So all the effects in dreaming are based on the dreaming being real or not. Yeah? If you're in the dreaming, seemingly as the dreamt, then the dreaming seems to have real effects, yes? Just like last night, when you were in the dreaming was seemingly having real effects. Then you supposedly wake up, and what happens to those effects? Yeah. They weren't caused by anything, were they? So they dissipate. You're the cause in the dreaming, yeah, and you're the cause in the awake, yeah. So you're a cause in the dreaming. Without you as the cause in the dreaming wouldn't seem real, yeah. At the same time, what you are, yeah, isn't affected by the dreamt, because it's the dreaming. At the exact same time, this is an inherent timeless state, no effect. And in time, this seems to be like a guy shared with me earlier. Days he travels really well, and other days he seems to be up the ass of self. That's how it appears in the dreaming. Yes? But are those real effects? Their effects are over as soon as the dreaming wakes up, yeah? From the dreamt, so to speak, yes? The dreaming as the dreamt, it's as real can be. The dreaming, seeing the dreamt, it's unreal, yes? So the cause is predicated on what you are, yeah? The cause the dreaming taking itself to be the dreamt. It's explained perfectly in the Course in Miracles. It's one of the most perfect diagnosis of everyone's day, which is you and I are the dreaming of the dream. I don't like the word dream because it sounds like a noun, but I would say you and I are the dreaming of the dreaming. Yeah? We forget that we're dreaming. That's the identification as self, yeah, as a thing. It's only seemingly so. It's appearing to that which is dreaming that it's the dreamt. Yes? Obviously. So that which is dreaming suddenly thinks it's the dreamt. Yeah? And in this condition, everything it's dreaming now has the ability to affect it as the dreamt. It's a perfect, see? That which is causeless can have an effect on that which is dreaming when it takes itself to be dreamt. When it sees the causelessness of the effects from the dreaming, ultimately there's been no effect. Yeah? The effects can appear in time, but in timelessness there are no effects. So at the same time there seems to be effects, there aren't any effects. Time, timelessness. In time, The dreaming seems to have forgotten its dreaming, takes itself to be the dreamt. Now everything it's giving meaning to is now biting it in its fucking mythical ass, yeah? Its thoughts are owning it, feelings are destroying its day, this and that, yeah? Then, if that same situation that's causing this incredible effect on the dreamt is seen from the dreaming, there's no effects on the dreaming, yeah? There's no effects. The effects that are affecting the dreamt do not affect the dreaming. The dreaming is inherently available at all times because it's not of time, it's not manufactured, it's not appearing, it's not seemingly so. It's a fact, yes? But when that fact takes it to be the dreamt, seemingly, it appears to it it's the dreamt, then suddenly all that it's dreaming has the ability to affect it. That's why you go through one like at 10 in the morning, you're totally fucked. And at 10:05, you're in heaven. It seems suspicious, doesn't it? How could I be totally fucked and then 5 minutes later I feel fucking great? Because this is what's happening, yes? Attention's going into the dream. Now, I wouldn't see either of them to be true. Yeah, I hope that. So, in the Course, they call it causeless effects. So let's say an effect a dream has on you is a causeless effect, in a sense. It didn't happen, yes, but it has produced an effect, yeah? So causeless effects. But when you see it, we're the cause of all the causeless effects, because we're the dreaming, yeah? Yet, only as the dreamt can we be bitten by the causeless effects. We are inherently got total immunity to the effects of the dreaming as the dreaming. Yeah? Yeah.
Can you navigate dreaming?
Well, we are. Yeah. Some, of course. I would say the best way for an action figure to navigate dreaming is by having a life of principles, really. Because principles aren't, they don't vary like circumstances and situations. We were talking about this today. The obscuring agent that I play, I can see shit when there isn't any shit. Like at 9:05, or when this girl leaves me, I don't see the pattern of all girls leaving me. I think it's her leaving me, yes? Yeah? So the principle is it's more like the North Star that you can follow in this little experience of time and space. That's sound. That's like, to me, this action figure was given recovery because that's exactly what it needed, which was principles. Yeah? I needed God rails, G-O-D rails, to keep me not veering off and fucking running into things and people and shit. Yeah? And so it looked hopeless to a certain point, and something intervened, and then it intervened and it took away that urge to fucking do whatever. And it also provided me the next day a way of life, which I wasn't looking for, which was a lady brought me to my first meeting. Because that little sense of change would have dissipated in 2 days with my constant behavior. I needed a way of life to express, yeah, that which had been given, and how that was guided has been principles. And like in Buddhism, do no harm. Christianity, do unto others as you would have done unto you. Yes, these simple things, if you can live sort of by them, they're not like, well, in this case, fuck you. You know what I mean? You really fucked me. No, principle doesn't have exemptions, yeah? You just start living by them, and I think that's a nice way to navigate. Now, what causes you to look up at the North Star? I have no fucking idea. Yeah, I don't. So, but yeah, I find that to be a good way. We were just talking today. Just do no harm. How difficult is that, really? Yeah, really, it isn't. I mean, yeah, there are ways of life you can live here that can correct the tendencies of a flawed action figure. Yes. So there is, like, while in Rome, you have to do as the Romans do, and you need to render unto Caesar what Caesar's. Non-duality isn't a skillful means how to get yourself out of a pickle, so to speak. I'm not a self. It's probably not going to work under that condition of angst, yeah? It isn't. I would much rather have skillful means than non-duality. Yeah, I would. I totally would. I mean, we tell the story of the guy's house is on fire and everything like that, and it's not going to go well if you say there is no house and there's no fire. You show them where the pail of water is with the hopes that after the fire's put out, you could talk with them and go, hey, isn't it funny you're at a lot of fires, you know, and maybe you're the fire starter, who knows, yeah? So you can at least, but when the fire's burning, oh, it's not burning, you know, it doesn't work. If you need fucking help, get it. Do not let a philosophy cause you not to take advantage of relief, you know. There's no one that needs relief. Fuck, bro, you need relief. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this isn't a dogmatic thing. There's non-duality, which I don't believe helpfulness is helpful. And then there's action figure world where helpfulness is helpful. Yeah, people need a way of not fucking flipping out at 1 o'clock on Saturday. So, yeah, yeah. But we hopefully are in a luxury. Most of us aren't in the throes of survival, are we? Hopefully we're living. And in living, there's other possibilities that can be entertained. When I used to see this guy in India, when any new person was there, because he was bored talking to everyone else, so he needed like new meat every day, he'd have the person sit there, and the first thing he'd ask you is, do you have a place to stay? Have you eaten any, do you have any food? Because if not, it's pointless to talk about this, yeah? Those urges or needs are gonna override your ability to hear whatever, yes? And it's obvious. So we're in hopefully a state of living, most of us, especially in Marin, you know, it's unbelievable. I mean, we shouldn't be, you know, complete angst today, yeah. Unless the head is in yesterday and tomorrow, because that's what it's usually doing. You're usually fucked not by today, but by yesterday and tomorrow. And if you don't see the miracle working of that, I don't know what else to tell you. We make shit out of nothing. That's fucking difficult to do. Like Labradors aren't doing it today. They're not. Most animals aren't making shit out of nothing. Yeah. All right, well, any more questions? I hope not. We were just listening. Can you turn this off, honey? We were listening. Yeah, turn it off.
I
Yeah.
can remember I can split it. I'll just split it.
Oh yeah, you